Welcome on back to another episode of the Goonery. Today we are joined by social media's hidden gem and TikTok sensation, Qualin Harris. Qualin, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad I can hop on here with y'all, talk some sports and stuff. Let's go.
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit before the show started. In the Toledo area, Cleveland fan, grew up in the Cleveland area, but wearing a Red Sox shirt, that's okay. I'm a White Sox fan. Brandon's a Cardinal fan. Before we get into that, just wanted to kind of get into I could say your rise on TikTok. I guess I was scrolling through your page, and I'm a big fan of self-deprecating humor. Is that something that you kind of just try to lean into? Because I feel like that's like the self-deprecating aspect of your page is what made me laugh the most.
Dude, it's my life. I literally post things that happen in my life, and luckily for me, it's so relatable with people around the world that I can grow the following I can grow just by telling my stories and just being who I am and showcasing the life I live, which is pretty much just like you said, self-deprecating comedy.
That's awesome. Honestly, it's one of those things that kind of takes like guts for some people to do, but I love the fact that you indulge into self-deprecating comedy. But um, outside the side of the self-deprecation, just your content in general, how hard is it to keep up with like just creating new and funny stuff like on a somewhat constant basis?
So the one thing that I will always lean towards or say is that there are so many other people out there who are funnier than me. And there are times where I don't even think I'm funny. I'm just posting, like I said, my life. And people just find humor in it because it's just so relatable. So I'm definitely like one of the most relatable out there, but I don't like to think that I'm funny. It's just funny that we all just have these, like we can all relate so well. Now it does get hard trying to constantly post and things in that nature. That's one thing that since taking the ship and doing social media full time that I found out is really hard is just not only coming up with stuff consistently every single day, having 2 or 3 posts, but just taking the backlash, actually posting and stuff like that, because that takes a hit on you. The mental aspect of trying to engage and communicate with all your followers and people are communicating with your posts and everything like that. It's rough. It gets rough. I didn't expect it to be as hard as it is, but then again, I love it. I love it. I love the aspect of everything with social media. It's fun to me. It's a challenge, and that's what I need in my life right now. It's just a challenge. So I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so sorry about that. Oh yeah, sorry about that. So I can see how social media can be just rough on anybody. You can look any way, and there's people still find something to pick at. So at what point, do you just like was there a point where you didn't want to make content online because of people like that, or does that type of stuff now fuel you?
I will never let someone get in the way of my dreams, of the path I want to take. And luckily for me, I was picked on as a kid. So I had to grow a thick skin no matter what. So even when people are picking out little things or just coming at me and stuff, it doesn't matter. But that's the thing that I love about TikTok is I'm able to just come back at people and just really just like, you know what, dude, you have like 4 followers and you have one video, that's shit. Like, who the fuck are you to try to talk about me? Like show your face. You're in your mom's basement right now. User 19642. Like, shut the fuck up. So it is fun. Like, and honestly, like that's what us as content creators need to do. Like, yeah, we're out here to entertain and we're trying to be, I guess, social figures and stuff like that. But don't get it twisted. I'm still a real dude. Like, I'm still a guy who's gonna come at you if you come at me. Don't let my smile fool you. Like, I got I don't want that. A lot of people have learned that. I don't get as much trolls as others do. But yeah,
Love
I
that.
let people know.
Yeah, and I think that my favorite part of TikTok, which it's some people's least favorite part of TikTok, is how tailored the algorithm is towards you, because you're interacting with a lot of people with similar interests and who like the same thing as you on there. So that's why, in a weird way, I tend to think TikTok is a little more positive than some other platforms. But I'm kind of interested because just how you kind of built your following. Do you think it's easier to gain a following with a really large video and then just building off of that? Or do you think it's like just a consistent posting? Do you think creating that loyal follower base and then going up from there with constant interaction is better?
So for me, interaction is key. Being able to engage with people who are engaging. And it's not just with TikTok. This is how I also built like my Confessions of a Server page on Instagram as well. People want to be seen, even though if they're not creating content, they still want to have that engagement with people, right? They don't want to get ignored. They don't want to, they're taking the time out to watch a video and comment. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. Even if their comments are shit, they still want to be seen. That's why they're making those comments. And I learned that early in my social media career, I guess you could say. So, you know, I've had videos that got 3, 4, 5 million views, and I've got a lot of followers from those, but I've also grown just by going into other people's lives and interacting with people in other people's lives. And then they eventually follow me and they want to come and talk to me in my lives and so on and so forth. Like there's so many different ways that are positive ways of growing than just, you know, being a cute girl that can dance well that all the guys want to follow because, you know, they have a nice body and stuff like that. I would never want to have my following be people who aren't engaging and don't interact with me. Like I think that's what, even though I'm not like the hugest, I still have, in my opinion, the greatest followers ever because I can talk to them one-on-one. You know, they keep me updated on their life and things of that nature. And that's what's awesome about this social media world.
From a personal standpoint, because I was looking through both your TikTok and Instagram, and what really stood out to me, and you know, the posts where you play what's your favorite as titties or a great heart, and then you still pick titties. But that's my favorite. But
Yeah.
personally for you, what do you think? What's the most favorite thing like you have created yourself?
Oh man, that was a great one. Probably my favorite video. See, I always get asked this, and I have so many. That one is definitely up there. I did a couple videos that I've called like the social cues, which is just my different personalities. So I have like drunk cue, responsible cue, romantic cue. Like I love those videos because that can really like show a little bit more about myself and the different personalities that I have and things of that nature. And then there's one that really stuck out to me that kind of blew up. It was my twist cap to vent video. That one got very good views every time I posted it, but it was pretty much just I stitched this girl who was twisted cap to vent on a Tide bottle. So I twisted the cap and I started venting about a girl who wanted me to pick her up a highlighter and markers or something like that, or a highlighter and a brush to go with it. And she was meaning makeup, but I thought she meant like an actual highlighter marker and a brush. So that's what I got her. And I was like, I was venting to the Tide that I was mad that I didn't know what she wanted. Now, like, I'm never going to go shopping. So that was actually one of my favorite videos as well. But yeah, I always say that I post things that I definitely love myself. And that's how people are going to love them. So I can pick one of the ones that sticks out.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so I scrolled through your page a little bit. I saw a video that you tried out for American Idol 16 years ago. So obviously you've been trying to be an entertainer for a very long time, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Can you say that again? You kind of broke up.
Yeah, my bad. So I said I was scrolling through your TikTok and I saw that 16 years ago you tried out for American Idol. And as someone who in high school was voted most likely to win American Idol despite having an awful singing voice, I found that very, very funny. And I was just curious, have you always wanted to be an entertainer? And was that kind of the moment you pivoted from wanting to sing towards kind of being a content creator, comedian type of avenue?
Music is my life. As much as I create videos and create content, I love music. And I've always been singing ever since growing up. Like during that time when I tried out for American Idol, I think I was in like 2 or 3 different church choirs, like my own personal church choirs and a couple of traveling ones. And we just had a guy who made it to the top 10 from my city of Oberlin, Ohio, Grigsby. I can't remember his first name. Charles Grigsby. He had just made it to the top 10. So then they were coming back around Cleveland. So I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let me go out and try. Like I always wanted to be a singer growing up. I never had the confidence in my voice, but I just said it was a thing to do. Why not try it out? You know. So there was another guy in my choir who went and tried out with me. I was with my sister. She came, and it was a really cool experience. But yeah, I've always wanted to entertain somehow, whether that be acting, singing, whatever it is, you know. And I just luckily fell into content creation a few years ago, and it's just taken off.
So while scrolling on your Instagram page, I saw that you are a Cleveland Browns fan.
Yes, sir.
From your vantage point, what went wrong this season? I saw the confidence. You're very confident.
Baker Mayfield.
That answers a question that I had.
Honestly, and all right, so I'm gonna get into this because I'm sure we're gonna have Cleveland people who are gonna be on here listening, watching, whatever. I'm gonna say this: I love Baker Mayfield's heart. I love his determination. I love his passion. I love him being on the field. I've been a Baker. I wasn't a Baker fan when he drafted him, but his rookie year, I became a fan, and I want Baker Mayfield to succeed. I really, truly do. But watching him for 3 years, he doesn't have that strong of an arm. He doesn't always make the best reads, right? And even if we want to blame him being hurt this year, he should have been sat. And I have said to all my friends, he's very replaceable. He is. You look at the NFL and the quarterbacks in the league, there's maybe 4 or 5 that I would take Baker over from all the teams. And that's also, and even there's some backups that I would take over Baker, right?
Yes.
Like we had one in Cleveland that I would have taken over. Like I would have loved to have Case Keenum in there other than Baker Mayfield for most of the season. Because when he's in there, when he's in the game, the offense doesn't look any different than if someone else is in there. He wins games because Chubb and Hunt, because that defense. But I think he's kind of a liability when it comes to throwing the ball. Does he make great throws? Yes. Does he make boneheaded throws? Yeah. He has the most interceptions since 2008 in the entire league. You know? So I want, but Baker's a Cleveland guy. If you look at the landscape of Cleveland sports, Cleveland has those guys that they hang their hat on that they want to love. Anderson Varejao, Travis Hafner, Grady Sizemore, Baker Mayfield, Peyton Hillis. These are Cleveland guys that people love in the city of Cleveland that they try to make superstars. That can be replaced and we can do better. So, you know, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, someone else to come in and take over the reins. Because we have a Super Bowl team. We really do. We have the line. We have the running backs. We have the receivers, especially when OBJ was there. You see what he's doing out in LA right now. The defense is stacked. The DBs are so much better this year than they were last year. But we made the playoffs last year. So it's just like, I'm sorry. Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, Baker, for sure replacement level on the field. Not sure about on in commercials, but a name that I've been seeing floated around. My connection cut out again, I think, but yeah, there goes my connection. Sorry about that. A name that I've seen thrown around is a straight up swap for Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield to reunite Kirk Cousins with Kevin Stefanski. Both virtually, I would say, argue Kirk Cousins a little above replacement level. I think that he just has a tendency to come up short in big spots. But is that something as a Browns fan you would welcome with open arms?
Yep, I would. Kirk Cousins, I mean, he's shown that he's a better quarterback. He has a better arm. He makes better reads. You know, yes, he has elite receivers, but still, he's a better quarterback. Another one that I wouldn't be mad at to see come play in Cleveland would be Derek Carr. Another guy. Everything that he went through this year, and I would love if it was just a swap, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield. That'd be another thing. But, you know, we have to see how Baker's going to be after this surgery. The organization has confidence in him, but I don't think they had that much confidence in him, or else they would have gave him an extension. That's saying something right there. And the one thing that I've been floating around, which I actually think would be a great idea if they can actually do it, talk Alex Smith out of coming out of retirement.
I don't know if you want his leg falling off during the middle of a game. So
listen, the way that he played the end of last year with the Washington football team, I'm gonna start saying the Washington Commanders because I think that's what they're gonna be. I think that he would fit perfectly into that system, and it's not so much of like his abilities, his mind. He's just an intelligent quarterback. I would say Andrew Luck, but he just looked really at peace when they did like the little interview with him. He just seemed happy with not playing at all ever again. So, but I think Alex Smith, he could definitely come in, fit in perfectly with that team, with that line, and succeed the way that Alex Smith should have in San Francisco.
I'm not sure if I agree with Alex Smith there. I think he's closer to becoming a quarterback's coach than he is coming back and playing football. I think he will absolutely be on a staff within the next few years. He's a great football mind. But
I'm not saying that that's actually going to happen.
No, absolutely.
But I'm saying if they could, that's a definite upgrade than Baker Mayfield.
Hey, I feel you because Brandon and I are both Bear fans, and last offseason when we were doing this show, I was floating around the idea of Sam Darnold coming to the Bears before we traded out for Justin Fields. So I know the feeling of being in quarterback purgatory. It's not fun.
Don't ever put us in the front office, honestly.
But, I don't know. Y'all be able to do better than the Bears front office these last couple of years. I'll say that.
Hey, listen, I won't doubt it. As much as we like to play fantasy booking with the Bears roster, they probably do the same damn thing. See, you might be onto something. But I do want to pivot from football to baseball. Mm-hmm. The Red Sox had a very, very, very good season, regardless of coming up short. Exceeded all types of expectations. You got your manager back. But that if baseball is being played this season, that AL East is pretty damn loaded. Now, how do you feel about the Red Sox going into next season? And do you think that they can win a division?
It all depends on what kind of moves they can make in the offseason for pitching.
Correct.
And honestly, that was the reason why I didn't give the Red Sox a shot last year. Tell everyone, I was expecting the Red Sox to maybe win 10 games. Especially coming off the year that they did in 2020, they were garbage. I had zero expectations for the Red Sox. And even in September, when you saw other people's bats heating up, the Yankees, the Jays, all their bats started heating up, I'm like, we're not going to make the playoffs. Even though we're like 15 games ahead in first place, we're not going to make the playoffs. And they damn near almost didn't, right? Yeah. They need pitching. Losing Erod is going to hurt. We'll see what happens with Chris Sale coming back. But they need to go out and find another a starter and get people who can come into the bullpen and just be lights out, especially a closer. We can't have this rotation of closers of not knowing who's going to actually get the game. But, Cork, that you can see the impact that had on Devers. You saw he's a totally different player. 2019 when Cora was there, 2020 when he wasn't, 2021 when he was. So I think that our bats are solid. We're in a good place. A lot of people are mad because we lost Hunter Renfroe. I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, we just have to get pitching. That's our soft spot right now is pitching.
Yeah, Chris Sale, it warmed my heart a little bit as a White Sox fan, seeing him come back and throw this year. Obviously, looked like a shell of himself at times, but I mean, I'm amazed he's still kicking. You guys obviously probably very happy with that trade. He helped guide you to a World Series. But speaking of that revolving door of closers, I have an idea. I mean, the White Sox, we could trade you Craig Kimbrell, bring him back to Boston. Not sure how you feel about that, but I'd give him to you guys willingly.
I love Craig Kimbrell when he was down in Atlanta. I loved him when he was with the Red Sox. But his last few games with the Red Sox, I'm like, he's done. He is done. And you saw that even in Chicago, both Chicago teams. His arm just isn't – he's not intimidating anymore. He was intimidating before, especially when he was with the Braves. Mm-hmm. He lights out. But now he's just, like you said, a shell of himself. He's more of a shell of himself than Sale is. Sale's coming off of a major injury. We're going to see what he can really do next year if he bounces back well. But yeah, no, you can keep Kimbrell. Give us what's his name? What's your other closer?
Hendricks, no thank you. No thank you. That guy's mad.
Yeah, send him our way. Send him our way.
I'll tell you what, when he signed that contract originally 2 years ago, I was happy, I was excited because the Sox needed the help at the back end of the pen. Was I excited about the number? No, not at all. But then, I mean, this year he was just lights out. As good as you can be, honestly, for a closer. And I saw a stat someone tweeted out today. He had, I believe it was 15 appearances in the eighth inning this year. Where in those 15 appearances, he gave up one hit. And you just look at it with Kimbrell, where it's like, you're that much of a mental midget where you can't pitch in the eighth. You can't come in with a runner on base. It just goes to show you how special closers are. And it's not a knock on Kimbrell. Kimbrell's a Hall of Fame closer. He will be in Cooperstown at the end of the day. His run in Atlanta, unlike any other closer besides probably Mariano Rivera.
Yeah. I definitely would say that. Yeah, he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Don't get me on a Hall of Fame. That's a whole. I don't know if y'all want to open up that door, but
nope, I'm good. I'm good. But I do want to make a take though, because you mentioned Rafael Devers, and I didn't watch a lot of Red Sox last season, but when I did watch him in the postseason, he has this aura about him that it feels like every time he comes up, he's going to hit a home run or something's going to get hard hit. He reminds me, maybe just him in a Red Sox uniform. It just reminds me of David Ortiz when literally every time you saw him come up, you thought he was going to hit a home run. That's how intimidating Devers is. He's going to be a really, really good player for a very long time. And y'all are extremely lucky to have him.
You are not the only one to compare him to David Ortiz, but me as an Indians and a Red Sox fan, I say if Devers can get a better eye for the ball, he's going to be more of a Manny Ramirez than David Ortiz. Because if you really think about it, Manny was a much more feared hitter in that lineup than Ortiz was. Ortiz lasted longer with the organization, and he came up and had bigger hits at points, especially the hit against Detroit in 2000. What was that, 11 or 12 or something like that?
13.
But when Manny was there, Manny was a more feared hitter because he had such a great eye, and you knew he was getting 100+ RBIs every year, 30 to 40 home runs every year. As a hitter, he was a very smart hitter. So if Devers can calm down a little bit more, his swing is violent. Violent swing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he was hurt in the postseason. And he wasn't hitting like he was because he was hurt. But his swing is just so violent. So if he could just calm that back a little bit, get a better eye, he's gonna be more like Manny than he will David Ortiz.
So before we wrap this up, I know that we said we weren't going to open this can of worms with the Hall of Fame, but David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, both on the ballot this year. Are they Hall of Famers?
So I will say this. The Hall of Fame is a joke.
No, absolutely. I agree.
The MLB Hall of Fame, excuse my language, is a fucking joke. You have people, if you compare the numbers, who are not in the Hall of Fame, who deserve to be there. You have people who are getting in second and third ballot in the Hall of Fame, but yet then you have people like Jim Thome getting in first ballot, right? Other than 600 home runs, which is a great feat. What else has Jim Thome done in his career to be a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I agree with that.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Where you have in his Hall of Fame class, Vladimir Guerrero got in second ballot. So you mean to tell me that Vladimir Guerrero Jim Thome was a better player than Vladimir Guerrero? Absolutely not.
Hell no.
You have people, Jim Thome, when he was on the Indians, when I was growing up, wasn't even the best player on the Indians, but yet he's the only one in the Hall of Fame. Manny Ramirez, Kenny Lofton, Omar Vizquel. 3 people right there that I named that were better players and had bigger impacts on the team than fucking Jim Thome. But he's the one who's in the Hall of Fame. Why? Because he has 600 home runs and he smiled at reporters.
Yeah.
If Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame, why are you keeping Barry Bonds? Why are you keeping Roger Clemens? Why are you keeping all these other great players out of the Hall of Fame who were Hall of Fame talent before everything went down? If the man who oversaw that era of baseball is in the Hall of Fame, you're not going to have the Hall of Fame talent that was in the Hall of Fame?
That is an excellent point. I never thought about that, but that is a really, really great point. Never thought about that.
And no, it's completely flawed, the system, and we can all acknowledge that. The fact that I think how the voting should be done is that the players who are still alive in the Hall should be the people voting in the new players into the Hall of Fame. I think that's how it should be. And some people may disagree, but the fact that journalists are choosing it, I just think that's wrong.
There needs to be some kind of standard, and it can't be a popularity vote. And that's all it is. It's a popularity vote. You're not voting on what they did on the field. You're holding it against them if they didn't talk to reporters because reporters were bashing them the whole entire time, which is honestly probably the main reason why Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. Yes, what he did with the steroids and stuff like that was bad. But the honest reason that he's not in the Hall of Fame is because he bashed all the reporters and he went and talked to reporters because they were bashing him, right? So to answer the question, David Ortiz will get in. Manny Ramirez will, because they look at Manny Ramirez as a clown, especially with him like running into the Green Monster, the circus he had out in LA. I don't think Manny would ever get in. Manny had way better numbers than half the people in the fucking Hall of Fame, right? But I don't see Manny ever getting in. Kirk Schilling is another one who should be in, but he won't get in. Well, mainly because he took himself off the ballot this year. But I mean, there's so many people. Like I said, there's other people who were great for the game who had great numbers. Andrew Jones from the Braves. Yes. Why is he not in the Hall of Fame?
that Dr. Kemp really, 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 really messed him up, unfortunately.
They did, but it's just, I don't know. The Hall of Fame is a joke, and I'm surprised at how calm I stay, because when people normally like bring up the Hall of Fame, I go off on how Jim told me, and I grew up in Cleveland. I love the Indians. Jim Thome was great for his time there, but he does not deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Fame or Hall of Famer where you have other people on the Hall of Fame that every single person would rather have hit game 7 World Series, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, man on third, and you're down by 1 and you need a hit or a home run. There are so many other people who are not in the Hall of Fame that are on that ballot that you would choose over fucking Jim Thome, but yet he's the one in the Hall of Fame.
So before we end, I do want to touch on the point of former players being the ones who vote. The only issue with that is, not for nothing, when you talk about new age players, who is always the biggest critics of any new age player? And this ranges for every sport. It's always the old guys that just hate the little antics, the love for the game, because you can't tell me that, the guys that are flamboyant and actually like celebrate, you can't tell me they don't love the game. It's always this weird thing with these older players where they feel like they invented the rules of baseball and how it should be played. And unfortunately, those are going to be the same people that's going to be voting on the ballots in every single sport. I will be against it, because I'm telling you, just like I don't want to mess up your name. I was going to Qualin. Just like Qualin said, if you smile at reporters and you conduct yourself as a model citizen, you're going to get in. But to be honest, it's nonsense, because there is no standard for what it looks like to be a model citizen in terms of the media, on the field, and all that stuff. But yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a purist for the game. Baseball is my favorite sport. I love the sport. To me, it's the greatest sport out there. Like, I love baseball. I love it. But I can see that there's a change in the sport to where you don't have to follow all the little dumb rules. Like last year when Tatis Jr. was going under scrutiny for hitting that home run when they were up by so much and bases loaded, and all the purists like, oh, he shouldn't have swung 3-0 or blah, blah, blah. Why not? That's the fucking game. If you don't want him hitting a home run, don't give up a ball that he can hit.
Boom.
Put him on base. Like, I hate that people act like that in the sport of baseball, because they can't see that it's stuff like that which is going to draw in a younger crowd and people who actually want to go to the games and stuff. You're old. Oh, do it the right way. Baseball should be done like this. That's for the birds. That's gone. All that shit went out the door back in the after the lockout in the 90s when no one wanted to come back to the game. It's something new. That's why the steroid era was so much fun, because those rules didn't exist. Fuck it. Let me hit 75 home runs in a season. Like, that's the fun thing. Let me go out there and have fun and smile and hit home runs and play the game and be flamboyant and celebrate every time I hit a home run. That's what's going to make people want to not only watch the game, but play the game, because they're out there looking like they're having fun. Mm-hmm. They're out there smiling. People in the NBA and NFL, they're celebrating after a dunk, celebrating after a sack. They're able to celebrate now after touchdowns and stuff like that. Football and basketball looks fun. But you watch baseball, it doesn't look fun, because people don't want fun in baseball.
Yep.
Yep. So that's why it's a dying sport, but it's still my favorite sport.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So before we wrap up, Qualin, could you just let everyone know who's watching or listening where they can find you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. TikTok. My TikTok name is QHarris8, QHarris, the number 8. Same for my Instagram page. And I also have my other Instagram page, which is restaurant-based content, confessions of _ a server, and that's on Instagram.
All right. Thank you very much again for coming on the show, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.